Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the School District of Waukesha. This is a regular Board of Education meeting on Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. And to start the meeting, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, will you please take the roll call?
William Baumgart. Here. Corey Montiel.
Here.
Greg Dietz.
Here.
Amanda Roddy.
Here.
Kelly Piaczyk. Here. Patrick McCaffrey.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Karen Reinacek.
Here.
Joseph Como.
Here. And just as a reminder, to speak clearly and closely to your mics so that our audience, our TV audience, can hear us very well. Stacy, have we been properly posted also?
Yes, we have.
All right, thank you. We are going to welcome bright lights back since we have our students in class. So this is always one of my favorite parts of the meeting. Tonight we're going to have the Waukesha West High School will present on their Live and Learn class. So welcome everyone. Please introduce yourselves.
In a minute here, we'll get our presentation ready. Always get help from the students. Good evening. My name is Jeff White. I'm a special education teacher at Waukesha West High School, and I'm part of a class. I've had the good fortune of being a part of a class called Independent Living. We changed the name. It's always been called Live and Learn, and I'd like my students to introduce themselves.
All right, hello. My name is Quentin Odea. I am a senior at Waukesha West. I was in the class of Live and Learn from my sophomore to junior year, and Mr. White gave me the opportunity to come here tonight and speak about it.
I'm Gavin Alexander. I graduated last year at Waukesha West. I am currently enrolled at WCTC. Yeah.
I'm Caitlin Boudet. I was in Live and Learn for a year and a half from my junior year to senior year, and I'm currently enrolled in UWM.
My name is Alex Houseworth. I am a senior right now, and also I first did this class in my sophomore year, now continuing it in my senior year.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Soto Jimenez. I'm a senior, and I've been in Live and Learn class for about a year, and there's so much to talk about it. I enjoy that class a lot.
Everybody. All right, I'll just give you a brief overview of the class. So this is a class that meets the last 2 hours of the day. It's a block scheduled class. So, and it's really intended to teach transition skills to students. So we work on, this is a chance for them to apply social skills like they're doing tonight. It also offers opportunity to do school to work skills, character building by giving back to their community. They're feeling better about themselves. And probably the best part about it, we had a pizza before we came here today. It's about the social connection. That's a big part of the class. It's experiential learning, and the students were just going to jump in and say a few words about what that means to them. Benny.
Okay, so the experiential learning, hands-on learning. So for that, here I'm going to go first with the active learning. So with the active learning for experiential learning is so I enjoy so the active learning is the thing that I would is the thing that I have.
We're in the community rather than
right community.
So it's hands-on.
Exactly. So we go to Lifestriders, which so we basically kind of like help around with moving hay and like maintaining the place.
So
And
rather than learning in the classroom, we're out in the community.
Right,
And it's
yeah.
hands-on. For a guy like Ben, that's awesome. For the end of the day, you know, he's pretty much done with the book learning, and so there's a lot to be learned out in the community. If you just wanted to talk about the variety. Caitlin? Yeah, come on up here to the mic.
So we basically go to different places throughout the whole week. We go from like Life Striders to Katie's Closet, which you help clean like.
We'll go into the particulars. Yeah, we'll get into that. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. And then coaching, Quentin?
For coaching, I was given the role last year to help one of our more challenging students that learns a little bit slower, and Mr. White asked me the question, because I'm a captain for my swim team. He was like, can you use that towards this class and help one of our more challenged students? So I was given the role to, every single time we went to one of the places that we help out with, is to, if he's not involved, I help him, and instead of doing it for him, I would show him how to do it and then have him do it so he would understand more of it, and then like everybody else who does it would learn from that. And Mr. White made it perfect, and I actually did a pretty good job last year with it. And he had his name's Seth. He ended up actually really liking me and liking the class because of it. So.
Next one is in the real world, and since I graduated last year, I've taken a lot of things from the class and used them in the real world. Like problem solving has been a real helping hand when it comes to, you know, college essays, or even like solving problems within the classroom with other classmates.
Good. And we'll jump ahead here. Mr. Pat said to keep it to 6 minutes. These are some of our community partners. So the students.
Whatever time you need.
Okay. The students had mentioned that we're out in the community 3 days a week. So because it's a double block, the students are going to speak to each one of these locations. What's not up on the board is we've also worked with Linden Grove Nursing Home, and because of the pandemic, we kind of lost that partnership. We've worked with Salvation Army, that's not up there, and Prairie Elementary. Due to the pandemic, we weren't able to do that. But I'll let the kids just speak a little bit about each location. I just wanted to mention that we do have the use of 2 vans. So we got a grant for this van. Jason Gahan helped us get that van, and so there's an educational assistant, Jody Schrader, that works with me, and between the 2 of us, we transport about 10 or 11 students out in the community. And who had Retzer? We rehearsed this quickly before we came here today.
Yeah, so I picked this one because I enjoy working there. Is because we
Just a few things like what we
yeah, because most of the times we help out by giving water to the plants, and as well as keeping the place clean, cleaning up the garbage, trays, and also like whenever we have time, whenever we finish cleaning up, we would just go for a nice walk on the trails, and it's a pretty nice.
So this class counts as Phi-Ed credit too. So if they didn't, they do environmental education. So we would help prepare some of the materials. If they didn't have something for us to do, we go on a nice hike. It does count for Phi-Ed credit. Thank you.
Yeah,
Dan.
definitely.
And Alex.
We go out to the food pantry just to help out stack food and also package them, like remove stickers. But it's not just for the class. It's also for people who are out there just willing just need help from others. We are willing to help anyone in need, and it's just one of the big places that I have actually got to know, and actually it's actually a pretty good work experience and actually very helpful volunteer work. So
Sure. Yeah, that's good. That's true. All right, who had the Life Striders? Yeah, Kayla. She's in the picture too, far right.
So Life Striders is an occupational therapy for kids that can go ride horses. So basically what we did is we helped take the hay and feed the horses, basically. We also picked up after them.
It's not glamorous work. Creates work out there. All right, that's good. Thank you. And Katie's Closet.
So Katie's Closet is a medical equipment library, so people who can't afford most medical equipment can get it there for a small loan, and then they'd have to return it. And what we would do there is we would clean the equipment and also organize some things within the warehouse and bring in used equipment.
Real community gem. They are. They're a new partner for us. And Wolverine Wardrobe.
Okay, so the Wolverine Wardrobe was not originally our idea. It was from two former past students, Morgan Baker and Sarah Powers, who made this wardrobe in the back of our student services, and it was a little small area, and then when they graduated, nobody took the role to keep it going. So Mr. White reached out again, and we decided to take that role. And now we have switched it to a bigger room and have had clothes donated to us so we can make a bigger variety for any kids who need clothes. So it's not just for kids who need clothes, but it's just for kids if just anybody. But if there's ever a kid who is a little more shy about asking it, they can ask any teacher at our school and they can go up and grab it. Right now we are working on the room, so hopefully by the end of this year we can get it up and running, and then by next year kids can come in and out and get whatever they need so they feel comfortable at school instead of having to feel like scared of asking, and so they can feel comfortable at school and welcome.
And you want to talk about the big check?
Oh yeah. So I think it was like last year. What month again? Yeah. During the spring, we got a check for I think it had like $2,900
$85.40.
Yeah.
That's a good seat up.
Not bad for an old guy, huh?
Like that's a lot of money. So it can help us, to buy the paint, to paint the Wolverine Wardrobe, as well as getting the equipment to start setting up the wardrobe and all that jazz. So. And
that was from the Waukesha Education Fund. So they were very generous to us. So I just wanted to touch on this. So this class, for a lot of kids, this is a pretty high functioning group. For some, social connections are really hard to come by. And, you can see from the pictures that they get a lot of bonding, and that social piece is really, and then we're kind of running along here, but, we're proud that we're impacting the community while achieving personal growth. Questions from anybody? Otherwise, thank
Questions
you
or
so much
comments?
for your time. Yeah,
Mr. Montiel.
Thank you, Mr. White, and thank you, students. What a great program. Not only are you educating students, you're educating hands-on, outdoor, and you're building a community service and creating great citizens, which is what we couldn't ask more for. So thank you, and great presentations. I was especially glad to hear what you do at Retzer. I'm out there quite often looking for raspberries. It's a beautiful area. So thank you for keeping that up for our community, and good job.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
Other questions or comments from other board members? Yes, Ms. Roddy.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned you're still working on the Wolverine Wardrobe. What's left? Do you need more supplies, or is just time and getting in there?
Yeah, so it was really remarkable. So last year was challenging for a class like this because we lost so many community partners. So we had to find in-house things to do. So the students actually created the proposal. So, with my support, we did the grant writing. So we had little committees, and we came up with a spreadsheet, and we broke down every dollar that we intend to spend. So we're only working on that 1 day a week, so it's really taking kind of a long time. So maybe by the end of the school year, we'll be up and running. And the first program was meant for people in need, like that needed clothing, a family going through a tough time. And our spin on it is try to take some of the stigma away from, like if I got tired of wearing this shirt, I could go home, wash it, bring it back, and exchange it. So we want to make it like a school-wide thing so that anybody, you could just come in and check out a piece of clothing.
Cool program. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Dietz.
First of all, I just want to say you should all be really proud of the work that you're doing. And I can tell you are just by how you're standing and how you presented yourself this evening. That has to be a really good feeling. And it might have been one of the most positive experiences that you've had in school. But just a thank you from myself, and I'm sure the community as well, for all the hard work that you're doing. You're certainly making a difference, and it shows by the smile on your faces that I see right now. So thank you very much. Plus, you also have the support of an amazing teacher, Mr. White, and I see Mr. Pat here as well, your principal. Anytime that West High School is here presenting, he is always there to support you. So you have a good guy at the top that's leading you as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? I do have one, and it's not required. First of all, you guys did a really great job talking about the program and your experience. Is there anything that anyone wants to share, just as like your best moment, best memory so far? And you don't have to. If you want to, fantastic. If you don't want to, that's okay.
I guess I'll share from my perspective of working with Seth. I went into the class not even knowing who he was, never said a word, and then just growing and doing custodial at school and seeing him like dust mop. But like the best times are where he would like start hopping or jumping, and just knowing that he was very excited, or like just, you know, like giving me a fist bump or a high five. It just like showed that this class grew like a connection between somebody who's more challenged, like to work with. So it like made me happy in a way that I was making somebody else's day proud. So.
Okay, excellent.
Though most of us know each other in each classroom, it still takes my attention that every time we go in the community, we know such wonderful people, and the wonderful people who are willing to do anything just to help out the community, and we help out them. That's one of the greatest moments that I could ever ask for. And know these people are willing to do whatever it takes, and we are willing to give something back. And that's something I could never have asked for.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Anyone else? All right. All right. Thank you very much. Great job. That was great. Moving on to our recognitions, we do have one recognition this evening. Dr. Siebert?
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Filling in and pinch hitting here for Mrs. Thede, it's my pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Chris Carabon. Chris is our newest Les Paul Middle School Assistant Principal, and it's our pleasure to introduce you to him as well as the community. Chris has been referred to as an agent of change for the good. His strong work ethic and knowledge of behavior management, PBIS, and the understanding of the power of collaboration and connection has already shown that he's going to be a tremendous asset to our middle school and district team. So we're certainly very excited to welcome Chris to the School District of Waukesha and to Les Paul Middle School.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say a few words? It's up to you.
Sure. I just really, my family and I moved here about 4 years ago from Milwaukee. We've been really nothing short of blown away with just the community aspect. It's an honor of mine and a point of pride that when I tell people that I now work for the School District of Waukesha, and I really look forward to just helping to grow and continue to excel in this district and help these students. So thank you, and I appreciate the warm welcome I've received from everybody. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now moving on to our student representative report tonight. Again, we have West High School that will be presenting. Avina and Ethan, are you here? Is Mr. Pat going to introduce you, or are you guys going to introduce yourselves? You'll keep him in the background, huh? But he's smiling. It's got that West pride. Right? Yes.
Alrighty, here we go. Good evening, all. I am Ethan Warner.
And I'm Avina Langevin.
And we are both seniors at Waukesha West High School. And it is our pleasure tonight to be presenting today about West's accomplishments and events that have taken place so far this school year.
So we're first going to be talking about West academics. What's been super nice this school year is that West is back to back in school, face-to-face, which is different from our start from last year. Being fully back in school has allowed for greater connections and interactions between our peers and teachers. A new add-on for this year has also been Jit Time, or JIT Time. And this time is in the morning before school from 7:20 to 7:50 a.m. Tuesday through Friday. And it's where students can come in just to catch up on work or improve upon their learning. Teachers either assign students to Jit Time to get them caught up, or like I said, students can come in on their own. There are a lot more students turning in their classwork on time and doing successful in class because of Jit Time.
Next, I'd like to speak on how Wicker has been integrated into our curriculum at West. I think the teachers have done a fantastic job at showing us exactly how each aspect of Wicker has been integrated into our learning, writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. And you can see in one of the top middle pictures how it's even being integrated into my choir class this year, which I think is pretty cool, how the teachers have taken the time to integrate that into every single class, even the arts. And next, I'd just like to speak on the wide range of AP classes available. Throughout my time at West, I've been in 9 AP classes.
And I've been in 13.
So I think between the two of us, it's almost safe to say that we've almost been through everything offered in person at West, which I think is pretty cool. And next, I'd like to shout out our fantastic teachers at West. Throughout my 4 years here, I've never been disappointed with any one of my teachers, and there are just so many of them involved in clubs, activities, and sports, helping out, coaching, leading. And so I think their work and care for the students is quite admirable.
Another amazing highlight from this school year is that Ethan got qualified as a National Merit semifinalist because of his outstanding PSAT score. And this consistent trend of West producing National Merit semifinalists just shows the high level of academics at West. West Athletics has also been going super well this school year. I am on the girls cross country team, and our season has been going very well. So many girls have been getting PRs this season, which is super cool to see. Our boys cross country season is also having a lot of success. Conference is this upcoming Saturday, and it is at McGuanago, and both teams are very excited to race their best. Boys and girls volleyball has also been doing very well. Girls volleyball just had their pink out night yesterday night, and there were a lot of fans. And boys volleyball is playing tonight at Arrowhead. This upcoming Friday, our football team has their last regular season against McGuanago, and hopefully there's another win just like last week Friday against South.
Moving on, next up we have girls tennis. We'd like to shout out Molly Asfeld for qualifying for state for her 4th year in a row at West here. Next is girls swim. They recently won the Watertown Invitational, and we wish them the best of luck at conference. In the bottom right, we have girls golf, who recently just qualified for sectionals as a team, which was the first time since 2016 for this achievement. In the bottom middle, we have our pom and dance team, who has put on a variety of great performances at different varsity sporting events this year. And lastly, in the top left, I've had the pleasure of being a part of this boys varsity soccer team this year. And last night, we just beat CMH 1-0, and now we are gearing up for the playoffs. Next week, Tuesday, we play South Milwaukee. And lastly, As our fall sports wrap up, I just want to acknowledge how great it's been this year with our student turnout at different varsity games. I know that usually there are some sports that get a bit more attention than others from our students, but this year I can definitely say that there's been an increased turnout across all varsity sports actually, and so I think it's just been really nice to see that increased student attendance at all these different sports. And so we are gearing up for our winter sports. The students are pumped, and practices and meetings for a variety of winter sports are already underway.
At West, we also have an ample amount of clubs with 46 so far, and students also have the opportunity to propose new clubs if they do not find a club that they already like. For example, we have a fishing club, which is not super common, but the club goes out every once in a while and fishes. Just this last Saturday, they went fishing and caught a lot of pike and gills. We also even have a student-run cafe in the library, which is really nice if you want to grab a snack. I myself am part of Interact, which is a community service club, and we help volunteer at a bunch of organizations. Just last Saturday, we had a highway cleanup. I'm also part of Student Environmental Activists, and Ethan and I are both part of NHS. I would also like to spotlight our marching band, which boasts a large number of members. Their theme this year is the Celtic Awakening, and just this past weekend, the cadets took first place at Milton on Saturday, and on Sunday they took second place at McGuanago.
So moving on to music and the arts, shout out to Drama, who is putting on the musical comedy Murders of 1940 next weekend. And then even though it isn't an extracurricular activity, I felt like I had to plug my choir class, which is in the bottom center. That is a picture of the Masters singers there. And tomorrow we have our first normal concert in over a year, which I'm super pumped for. And lastly, I'm also the director of a male a cappella group at West. We rehearse in the mornings, and we will be singing at our concert tomorrow. And then I'm also involved in drama, but moving away from the arts, I'm also involved in the Wolverine Leadership Academy, and I'm involved in the Freshman Ignition Program. And this year, our Freshman Ignition Program was a smashing success. One day in the summer, we oriented all of the incoming freshmen through a full day of fun games and activities and lunch on us. To help the freshmen get to know each other, understand the school, meet some teachers, walk their schedules, and it was a very successful day this year. And a couple weeks later, the Ignition program hosted the Freshman Tailgate as another resource for freshmen to start to get to know each other, and the picture in the top right is a picture from that tailgate. Yeah, that wraps up the clubs and activities.
Fortunately, we were able to have a homecoming this year. Our West Student Council hosts the homecoming and also a lot of other school events, and they do such a great job. Leading up to the homecoming dance, we had Spirit Week, and as you can see, we had so many participants. So many people wore a Giannis jersey on Jersey Day and neon colors on Neon Day. We also had our first annual Hoko bonfire, and it was a lot of fun, and hopefully this tradition keeps up at West. The Friday before homecoming, West also held a pep rally, and it hosted a lot of fun games, and we were also able to see and hear from our new West Hall of Fame inductees, who were alumni Joanna Wu Galante from the class of 2006 and alumni Eric Sawinski from the class of 2008. It was so impressive to hear about all their successes after their time at West.
Also on homecoming week, on Friday, homecoming week, we had the Powder Puff Finals game, which went really well. The finals game between the juniors and seniors was super exciting. It actually went into overtime, and after exchanging some field goals, the juniors and seniors ended up tying. And then the homecoming football game, Friday evening, there was a amazingly large student section. The homecoming court was showcased at the game. We have a picture of our homecoming court in the bottom right-hand corner. Waukesha West's master singers performed the anthem at the game, and the Pom and Dance team performed at halftime, as well as the marching band. And the Pom and Dance and marching band, they also got to perform at our pep rally on Friday. And on Saturday, we hosted the actual dance, and it was a great success. The theme this year was Glow with the Flow, and we had over 800 kids buy tickets to our dance, which was more than ever before, so it was pretty impressive. And that about wraps it up for tonight. So thank you all. And we'd be happy to answer any of your questions, but it's been a great honor to be here tonight to present for all of you.
Thank you so much.
What questions do we have? Or comments? Yes, Mr. Baumgart.
Thank you for everything you shared with us, because that tells us a lot about what's going on over there, and it's hard to follow that. But I'd like to find out where you're going from west. Have you made 2 major decisions?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know I want to go into a direct med program, so that combines my 4 years of undergrad and my 4 years of med school and sets me on the right track. I'm not sure where yet, but hopefully.
That's your plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like Avina, I'm not sure where yet. I've applied to over half a dozen schools, and I'm being pulled in every which direction, from the national merit money up to then the elite schools. But I'm hoping to study biology, just to give me a very broad range of options for my career, and graduate studies after I move on from that.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Yes, Dr. Piasek.
Thank you both for a great presentation, and congratulations to you both, especially to you, Ethan, for your accomplishments. I think between the two of you and the fishing club, you have just about everything covered at West. So I'm just curious what you do in your spare time.
Let's see. My spare time, I play piano. See my friends when I can. Hop on over to Culver's or play board games together. Normally I'd watch TV, but I have not had much time at all this year to watch any TV at all.
You're not missing anything.
So, yeah.
Honestly, for me, in my spare time, I just love to be outside and exercise. Like, my mom goes on walks, so I go with her, and my dad is super athletic, so we play tennis together, or we'll also go on runs together. And then I also cycle at Cycle Bar, and I'm there every Sunday. I just love to be on the move.
I also work at Walmart.
I don't know where you find the time.
Excellent. I don't know if this is a correct recollection or not, but the Ignition program, it's run by upperclassmen. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm one of the mentors on the Ignition program, and so it's open to any upperclassmen and sophomores who want to participate and be a mentor, and we have several work days throughout the summer, and even dating back to last year, where we would help plan and set up all the activities. We'd break off into our own separate committee groups, and just to make the day super fun for all the freshmen. And the freshmen come in right in the morning, and they stay till basically a full school day time frame, have lunch with us, and do a bunch of activities.
And I think one of the purposes of the program is to allow freshmen to connect with different upperclassmen.
Absolutely.
And, to at least be familiar with some upperclassmen, because I remember when I went to high school, I think the freshmen kind of just hung out with the freshmen and didn't really know too many of the upperclassmen. And I really think that's a wonderful program. So throughout the year, you have some formal activities, but you also see the informalness, like if you're passing in the hallways. Are those connections being made so that true friendships are being made?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. As a mentor myself, I know all 10 of my freshmen that I mentored this year. And I even remember the names of my senior mentors when I was a freshman. I remember saying hi to them in the hallways, and I've seen my freshmen around in the hallways. And so I absolutely do believe that the freshmen do get that experience with the upperclassmen and feel that they have connections and kind of like an outlet, so they're not just all alone as a freshman.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you again this year a little later, a couple months.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're now at the section of our meeting where there's an opportunity for citizens to speak. We do have 35 people signed up, I believe. Yeah, 35. We typically have 30 minutes that are allotted to this, but I will expand that out to a little bit more than an hour here. So we're going to ask people to keep their comments to 2 minutes as opposed to 3 minutes. At the 1.5 minute mark, Ms. Roddy will give you a signal, and if you could wrap up your comments in the following 30 seconds, we would truly appreciate it. We are going to display the time up here. Some nice new technology, and it allows you as a speaker to have a sense of where you're at as you're addressing us. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language in any manner, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board and/or committee meetings. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and the Board of Education and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience, and that the area behind the speaker and podium will be clear during the public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your phones at this time if you haven't done so already. And our first speaker tonight is Passion Carlson, followed by David Simmons will be on deck. Passion, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello, I'm an elementary teacher here in the district. Thank you for allowing me to speak to the board. I have shared with you all a letter that provides more in-depth summation of my experiences of being a mother of 2 young black men and the racism my children and I have encountered. One very real and painful experience is of my child being called the N-word in my presence on school grounds at the age of 5 years old. Although this experience has affected me, I am not here to share the raw truth of racism, but instead I would like to share with you something I hold dear more than anything, and that is being an advocate for our children. There are many who have never experienced racism themselves, so they may not be able to empathize. We can all admit that these things happen, and unfortunately they are all too common. So some would say that we are too hyper-focused on race relations. This tells me that they are far removed from the very real experiences of racism people of color face today. Children are targeted by racism, have higher rates of depression, anxiety, and behavioral problems. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, racism is stressful for children targeted by racist acts as well as those who observe them. When asked to recall a racist event they've witnessed as a child, young adults had stress responses comparable to first responders after major disasters. This stress can damage a child's physical and emotional health. As an educator and a mother, it is my duty to speak up for children. As a mother of black children, it is my responsibility to shed light on what many may not see or willfully ignore.
30 seconds.
Discrimination that happens currently in our schools needs to be addressed. Racism may feel personal, but it is not political. Being inclusive and having empathy should be a cornerstone of our educational setting, not a political divide that separates us. We need to work to stop institutional racism. This includes having equity and diversity training in schools, allowing educators and school leaders to have tough conversations and not hide the very fact that racism and discrimination happens. This does a disservice to ourselves, our children, and our community. Thank you.
David Simmons, followed by Stacy Keene. Welcome, David.
I'm Father David Simmons, and I come to ask that the school board take action to restore the ability of staff and students to post symbols of support and protection for the LGBTQIA community. For the last 6 years, I've been comforted by seeing pride flags and safe space signage at West High School, as it has sent the message that my second child, an open member of that community, could attend school there in relative safety. 2 weeks ago, my daughter and her friends were the victims of a public act of anti-LGBTQIA intimidation and bullying in the cafeteria at West. The incident has been reported and documented. According to the district's official submissions to DPI, there were no documented anti-LGBTQIA incidents of discrimination or harassment in the entire Waukesha School District in the 2018-2019 school year. Those with the desire to bully or intimidate people within this already highly vulnerable community have been emboldened by the public removal of symbols of support for that community this school year. I stand before you today as a parent and an Episcopal priest. My colleagues from multiple religious groups have joined me in the boardroom and outside to protest the new implementation of this policy which is causing harm to students. We believe reversing this implementation is a moral imperative. Jesus said that if anyone puts a stumbling block in front of one of the little ones, it would be better if a huge weight were hung around that person's neck and they were thrown into the sea. This district has put a stumbling block in front of my daughter and the other members of the LGBTQIA community. There is a weight forged out of the suffering of our district's children around the neck of every person who has the ability to change this procedure and refuses to act. As a taxpayer, as a parent whose child has suffered due to this new implementation, and as a minister of the gospel, I call upon the school board to take action. This call is something we will not give up on, as our faith demands our advocacy while our children's welfare is at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy Keene, followed by Sarah Harrison. Hi, Stacy.
Hi. So my name is Stacy Keene. I live in the district. And I just want to ask if we can now start focusing on educating our kids. Can we start focusing on getting them caught up after the failures of our previous board? Can we start focusing on getting kids career and college ready, because less than 50% are? We need to stop trying to discuss things and provide books that are not age appropriate. Let's start working on achievement. Our recent forward exams show how badly we are truly failing our children. Allow our teachers to focus on teaching them how to read and write, teach them history and math, teach them how to be critical thinkers. Our kids are more than the labels being put on them. They are so much more. I want to thank our board for giving our kids a fantastic year this year. Most are choosing not to quarantine, and next to no students are wearing masks. The same for many teachers. What this tells me is most are happy with the way things currently are. This is your majority, not the loud minority. And the lawsuit. It's laughable and embarrassing. This guy is a lunatic, Trump, and conservative hater. If for one moment you think he actually cares for the kids, think again. When asked why Waukesha, he replied, "They are mostly conservative, and I smile when I think about getting to the heart of the Republican Party. It has become so political, and the extreme left is so upset that parents are back in the game, they will do anything to stop it. Just like long ago with Walker, the food, just like this lawsuit, the outside interests are getting involved. Out-of-state donors are donating to this PAC to punish the rest of the country. Wouldn't it be nice if our resources could go to increasing proficiency instead of fighting out-of-state interests? Never doubt that the majority are supporting your decisions right now. Together we can improve achievement and know that we support all that you're doing right now."
Thank you, Stacy. Sarah, followed by Michelle Halaska. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. As the parent of two students in the school district of Waukesha, I teach my kids that being inclusive is important, that our home is a safe space, and that bullying others for any reason, including being different from them, is not okay. Unfortunately, not all homes are safe for all. School should be a safe space for all, especially those who do not feel safe at home. Safe for all means safe for those who see things as I do, and for those who do not. Safe for all means safe for all of any political, social, or economic background. People of all genders, sexual identities, and communities. Safe for all means that anyone from any situation should feel safe at school. Depending on the source, LGBTQIA youth are anywhere from 1.5 to 4 times as likely to attempt suicide as any other youth. And they experience harassment, bullying, and discrimination 2 to 3 times as often as others. The idea that a safe space sign is included in the group of banned political signs is offensive to me. I see no reason that any political party or political group would benefit from or would suffer due to the posting of
30
these
seconds.
signs. I urge you, Dr. Siebert, to reverse your dictum that these signs are removed. If this does not happen, I urge you, school board members, to take action and allow this signage to be reposted. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Michelle Halaska, followed by
I'm gonna trip over there.
Tariq Akmul.
Good evening. Tonight is mostly about gratitude. I want to start by saying thank you to those who had the courage of your convictions and voted no to the SSO lunch option for our district students. We all know that this is not free, but rather taxpayer funded. Waukesha West had an announcement from Aramark stating that they will no longer have their snacks for sale outside of lunchtime due to shoplifting. Why are students shoplifting when they are being offered the SSO program? I am disappointed in the rest of the board for caving to the mob, the bullies, and intimidators. I would also like to say thank you to the board majority for removing the COVID mitigations. Children need to be in school 5 days a week, face-to-face, and as you can see from the Bright Lights program presentation, they're all doing really, really well. We already caved on one issue, and there are already schemes to reverse this issue as well as others. And as Stacy brought up the lawsuit, that is one of them. Please do not let outside intimidation, such as the threat of lawsuits, persuade you to reverse your decisions. I would like to thank the administration for the new policy regarding signage. I believe children should not be bringing their sexual preferences, political ideology, gender identities to school. These are outside controversial issues and should be left at the front door when they arrive to school. Again, please do not let outside intimidation persuade you to reverse your decision.
30 seconds.
Another item that I am thankful for is starting the removal of pornographic and white supremacy books in our libraries. However, we still have a long way to go. Let's now get on the business with educating our children and getting them college and career ready. 50% of our elementary children are proficient at grade level. What is going on in our classrooms? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Tariq, followed by Allison Kolinsky. Hi, Tariq.
Good evening, members of the Waukesha Board of Education and Dr. Siebert. I'm disappointed in your lack of COVID mitigation measures. As you might all know, that in Fort Atkinson, a 13-year-old middle school student died, and following that, the board there reinstituted masking. If I had chicken pox, I would not be allowed because I would be considered contagious. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, we don't get any disfiguring marks on our bodies. And I think it is important that we protect our children. It is important that we have in-school learning, which we can with COVID mitigation measures. Those can go hand in hand, especially now with vaccines being available. As far as the other issue of removing the signage specifically related to the LGBTQIA, my daughter came out a number of years ago. She's a graduate from South High School. And we have to support our kids irrespective of what we may think about, okay? And LGBTIQA students face bullying. What does that say about your anti-bullying initiatives? Not much. And the other item, so you have to remove bullying, but now you're introducing bullying by removing the signage of support. And in closing, I find it a form of intimidation where we talk about possible defamation action based on closed session. Are we trying to tell our people in the district not to talk if they disagree? Thank you.
Allison? I'm sorry, Allison, followed by Maya Minor. Hi, Allison.
I'm a sophomore at Waukesha West High School.
The policy against hanging up political signs is completely outrageous. The policy is completely abused and serves no purpose other than to spread blatant hate. The policy is only enforcing taking down LGBTQ plus pride and safe space signs, while the policy says that it is taking down all political signs. I have still been in classroom where anti-people of color and anti-LGBTQ signs are still up. Not only is the policy only affecting minority groups, it is being abused by teachers and students. At Waukesha West High School, many students in the Gay Straight Alliance put up posters that were pre-approved by the principal on their lockers. One class period after these signs were hung up, I walked past my locker and my friends' lockers on the way to class and was genuinely surprised that the signs had not been ripped down yet. Is that how we want Waukesha schools to look? Having children surprised that they were allowed to spread equality for 1 hour? This didn't last long though, because within the next few days, the posters were taken down by a homophobic staff member who said that the principal told her to remove the signs. This is obviously a lie because the posters were approved by the principal. After this incident, we were told that we could put the signs back up, but only if they did not have any color on them. What other clubs are only allowed to use black and white? None of them. These rules are being enforced only to hide and silence LGBTQ plus students. Not only are staff members using this as an excuse to spread homophobia, but so are students. Lately, the amount of slurs I've heard being used at school has skyrocketed, and students have been stealing
30 seconds.
Have been stealing and vandalizing Gay Straight Alliance signs and pride flags. I hope you realize that removing safe space signs and LGBTQ flags is putting large amounts of trauma and stress on Waukesha students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Maya Minor, followed by, I think, Rhea V. Millette. Hi, Maya.
Okay, being neutral doesn't mean ignoring people's differences. It means accepting and helping everybody. If you're neutral, you're ignoring our history and our problems. It's disgraceful. You are here to represent the people, everybody. Currently, you're assuming everyone is feeling supported. It's not true. Currently, only the straight white students are feeling supported because that's the base ground for them. However, when you take down the equity posters and the flags and safe space posters, you stop supporting nearly half of your students. This school is not neutral ground right now. Since the signs have gone down, there has been a very apparent rise in student hate speech. Kids are feeling like those actions are okay now, and it's sickening. Not only are students feeling unsupported because of the signage ban, but the tolerance of bullying is horrendous. You say we can't have signage because it's not in the curriculum. Well, neither are the Packer flags or Badger signs. Why are these still up? Please put yourself in the student's shoes and realize how long-term the effects of this is. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Maya. I think your name is Rhea Miller. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it before. Oh, Reed Miller. I'm sorry. And followed by Monica Whaley. Welcome, Reed.
Hey, Bob. I attended the last one of these meetings, firmly in support of the safe space sign for reasons that I discussed then, and it was very admirable and also heartbreaking to see the students that meeting who discussed something I've never experienced, which is discrimination, transphobia, and homophobia in our schools. But what was even more heartbreaking were some of the sentiments echoed by the board members at the end of the night. To quote one in particular, and I quote, "And I hear so many students say that bullying is an issue at this level that so many of them are afraid to go to school. If that's true, what in the world is going on? Is this really happening in our schools?" To answer shortly, yes. Either that, or there's the notion that all of those students who spoke that night were lying. I can't imagine that any of the board members would believe that. We also heard, and not just from one perspective, I'm sure we can get speakers to say the exact opposite of what we heard today. Well, I suppose if that was true, we would have speakers who say they hadn't faced discrimination in our schools because of their orientation, but that doesn't exactly counteract or cancel out the students who have faced discrimination at our schools because of their orientation, because of their gender identity. When one group is being discriminated against, just because some people from that group haven't faced it doesn't mean it isn't happening, of course. And the truth is, we didn't see any of those students speak that night. Nobody came here and vouched that they hadn't faced any discrimination. It wouldn't matter if they had. But we saw real kids who really spoke about their real experiences, and they're counting on you to override the superintendent's order. A woman earlier tonight said, "Let's focus on students learning." But the truth is, students themselves can't focus on learning if they're facing discrimination during their time at school, if they're afraid of interacting with their fellow classmates because of the discrimination that they might face. When students are afraid to go to school, they can't focus on learning. It's probably at the bottom of their priority list. Those students are counting on you. Please listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Reed. Monica, followed by Vincent Duder. Hi, Monica.
Dear Dr. Siebert, Waukesha School District Administrators and Board of Education, I'm writing to ask you, where should I send the "you are personally responsible for" letter? The one where you're held responsible for the student who is black being bullied, threatened, and called racist names because our equity program is not a priority. The student who identifies as trans being outed by the district's support plan, going home to their parents who disown them and throw them out of their homes. The student with disabilities who's made fun of and called the R word because you don't want us to advocate for our students. The student who is gay getting beat up because taking down the safe space sign empowers those who are homophobic. The student who is under 12 years old and not eligible for the vaccine, who is hospitalized and could die because you wouldn't mandate masks. The Hispanic student who is harassed and told to go back to your own country because we can't welcome all students. The student who is suicidal, that has struggled the last couple of years and feels hopeless because even mental health has become political. All these events that occur daily within our school are all beyond the scope of the curriculum, and yet you expect our students to learn in this unsafe, traumatizing environment. You hold teachers responsible for meeting the goals and standards, and yet when we advocate to make our classrooms safe,
30 seconds.
You take away all of our safeguards. You pause on equity and ban on inclusive and safe space signage has created barriers to marginalized students. Your directive has increased hatred and racism by removing affirming messages. Please let me know the email addresses that you would like this information sent to, as I am certain you will want the notification when these incidents occur. Sincerely, Monica Whaley.
Hey, thank you, Monica. Vincent, followed by Abel. I think that's Hernandez. Welcome, Vincent.
Good evening. I'm Vincent Duterte, Waukesha resident and father of a student at West. Although I may be straight and white, to borrow Maya's words, I cannot stay neutral in the face of this inclusion sign ban. If by now you've not taken to heart what many teachers, parents, students, and a priest have shared about the mental health impact of this action, then I'm not too sure what else to say to convince you what is right. Which is why I'll once again mention a reason that I think might help you decide to reverse the sign ban, regardless of how you feel. I want to appeal to a desire that I presume we all have, of wanting to see the Waukesha area prosper, starting with our kids. With that in mind, a prospering community is typically associated with a healthy level of industry and employment, right? Nowadays, many companies, not just my own, value diversity. As such, companies like mine will want to continue to attract, hire, retain diverse talent. Providing a welcoming, inclusive school environment will actually prepare our students for this, for real-world work. But if our city becomes known for backwards ways and anti-inclusion, parents of diverse children are not going to want to stay here or move here in the first place. I wonder why the board is okay with letting the superintendent take this unilateral decision. Previously, the board felt compelled to intervene on the issue of COVID safety measures, which also alleged a mental health component, which the board is now being sued for. Is there, unfortunately, an unexpected majority that supports this latest anti-inclusion action? Could one of you make a motion to bring this topic to the table so we can see who in this board would actually publicly turn away from supporting our diverse students? These are some of the students they should care about in a district that supposedly believes that our diversity is a strength. If this district keeps going in this direction, eventually there will be no diversity to worry about.
Thank you, Vincent. Abel, followed by Odilia Garcia. Abel? Welcome.
Thank you. I would like to speak against the superintendent's signage removal policy because it's making most people who are part of the LGBTQIA plus super uncomfortable in the school, in which yet you want to claim that you want these kids to feel safe and make them feel comfortable, but yet you're willing to take down these signs to make them feel unincluded and unsafe. My question is, why would you want to take down these signs that make others feel safe? And what is a problem with a rainbow? What is the problem with the rainbow color on a paper? It's non-political, and I don't get why you have a problem against it.
Thank you, Abel. Ilya, followed by two people coming up together. Serena and Amanda Hernandez. Hi, Odilia.
Hi.
Welcome.
So I'm here tonight to address the bullying. My daughter 3 weeks ago suffered a threat to shoot her in the middle of a classroom. The teachers did nothing. The school did nothing. 3 weeks she's been verbally harassed, cyberbullied, harassed by multiple people. Up until Friday night at their homecoming game, her and her boyfriend were jumped by these same group of kids. I've reached out to everybody in the school district. Nobody will answer my phone calls. Nobody will do anything. My child is not safe at school. They won't allow me to go to school with her, and I'm scared to let her go to school. I don't know what to do about this situation, but she's 16 and is scared for her life, which is threatened in South High School, and nobody has done anything about it. Now, she's not part of LGBTQ or any other clique or clan or whatever. She's just a normal child trying to go to school and get her education. She's being denied her education. She's being denied her right to be safe in the school, and nobody's doing anything about it. I want to know when and where somebody's going to step up for these kids who all they want to do is go to school. She's never been a problem child. She's never been in any incidents in school. I moved my children up here from Racine so they could be in a safer environment. And this is what's happening. It's not right, and our schools need to step up and do something about this bullying that's going on.
30 seconds.
I'm not going to deal with the fact that my child goes to school and her life gets threatened, and the school will do absolutely nothing. All I'm asking is that somebody take these articles that are in the student handbook and say that she's supposed to be safe and make them stick to them, because the schools aren't supporting our children. And I shouldn't be scared for my child to go to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Odilia. And then Amanda, please. And Kate, followed by Kayla Cohn. Welcome.
I am the other parent to her daughter's. My son is her daughter's boyfriend, okay? And he's the one who was jumped. It was being talked about during the homecoming game, and there was a teacher there that heard everything, seen everything, and ignored it until my son told the group of people to be quiet. Well, you know, different. But then he kicked out my son and her daughter. And then shortly after that, following it, while my son was calling me to come pick him up because he was in fear for his life, then he kicked the other group of people out, and they followed my son and jumped him. My son had to go to the hospital. After the officer took him down, one of the kids' moms took him down, and then they had taser pointed at my son while he's getting punched and kicked and his head stomped against the concrete. Well, they did nothing. All could have been prevented if the teacher would have just made sure that the children were safe. None of this would have happened. I was on my way there as fast as I could. I couldn't have gotten there any sooner. I tried hurrying up when my son called me because of all the incidents that happened previously. So I just don't understand why you guys can't do it the teachers need to do to protect our children and to keep them safe. Like, I have other children in school too. And first they went after his girlfriend, and then now they're going after my son. Who's next in my family? They already tried to start something with my daughter, but my daughter wasn't having it. And that was just one person out of the group.
30 seconds.
You know, I mean, there needs to be, something needs to be done. Like, these teachers need to be trained, like, the safety. And you know, it's a bunch of kids coming from other schools that are not accompanied by parents who don't even go to that school that are doing all this. So, things need to change.
Thank you. Kayla, followed by Gigi. Mitchke. Hi, Kayla.
Hi. Hello, my name is Kayla Cohn, and I'm a student at Waukesha West. Last time I was here, there was talk of, but no real decision made on the revisitation of the policy made on the removal of representation within our schools. Now, I understand that a majority of you have graduated in the 90s, or maybe even the early 2000s or prior, but don't you see that's well over 15 to 30 years ago? I want to make sure that you all understand how much can change over the course of 20 years within the minds of the student body, and better yet, with the lack of change and evolution from the schools themselves. The change is coming from the students, and you are visibly expressing that all of you as a committee are unable to handle that kind of change. If you're commending the adults on the matter of removing representation in our schools over the students that are actively living through their high school experience, then maybe it's time for you to consider a career change. You're representing the students, and the students are the ones living through the high school experience. And even the teachers who are actively attempting to navigate the new environments as they go. Those signs encouraging equity, diversity, acceptance, and safety mean a lot to me because they mean a lot to others. And in order to grow, students need exposure on different ideas and topics in order to adapt to what the older generations would deem as the real world. And something that's prominently in the real world is diversity in gender, orientation, sexuality, ethnicity, perspective, and mind. And visual representation is the key to exposing newer generations to learn and gain knowledge about that wide variety of diversity. I encourage safety and acceptance for every school, and you should too. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Gigi, followed by Samuel D'Amico. Hi, Gigi.
Hi, my name is Gigi. I'm a freshman at Waukesha West High School. Did you know that the Trevor Project estimates that at least one LGBTQ plus youth between the ages of 13 and 24 attempts suicide every 45 seconds in the U.S.? On September 20th, 2021, at about 9 p.m., I tried to overdose. There was different reasons, but feeling like I didn't belong and wasn't supported were two of the biggest ones. Luckily, my beautiful girlfriend was there and convinced me to tell my mom before anything could have seriously affected me. I was brought into the hospital with my Advil levels being 3 times what it was supposed to be. Now, I don't remember everything from that night, but I will never forget what it was like to be laying on my bedroom floor, throwing up, crying, my head pounding, my vision blurry, and barely being able to walk. I also remember getting tired and wanting to go to bed. Luckily, my girlfriend did not let me go to bed because I knew that if I would have fell asleep, I probably would not be here. Now imagine how the kids who can't come out because of what their parents may think if they get kicked out or bullied, imagine how they felt when you made us take the signs and flags down. How that affected them, how alone they felt. School should be a safe place for students of all ethnicities, genders, and sexuality.
30 seconds.
It shouldn't make kids feel unsafe, not important, and not supported, which is how I felt. One of the most important things that helped me when I came out was being supported. Now coming out as she, they, and lesbian, I know that one of the best things for LGBTQ+ is to show support. The school board of Waukesha is preventing students and teachers from showing support, and knowing that what it feels like to feel like I have no one that supports me, I wouldn't want anyone else to experience what I went through. Thank you.
Gigi.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Samuel, followed by Katie Acker. Welcome, Samuel.
Good evening. I had a speech prepared, but I think I'm just going to speak from my mind tonight because this isn't really about what I have to say, but what we've been hearing tonight. This has been a really emotional experience for me, sitting here in this room, because I've heard some stories that I was not aware of. I am not a part of the LGBTQ community, but I am an unabashed ally of that community because I have a lot of friends in that community and a lot of people here who are expressing themselves on how this policy is personally affecting them. This policy took signage off of our school walls, hallways, and classrooms that make children feel safe, comfortable, and accepted in school. And now the superintendent and members of this board are hearing that children are feeling unsafe and uncomfortable. And we have not seen progress since this policy was implemented by the superintendent in late August. To the students and staff who feel ignored, left behind and uncomfortable to go to school tomorrow morning because this policy won't be overturned tomorrow morning. We see you, we hear you, and we are here for you. And right here, you have a group here to support you because the superintendent is not here to support you. And since August, neither is the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Katie, followed by Rebecca Diamore. Hi, Katie. Welcome.
Hello. So please, listen to someone who is lucky enough to work with high schoolers 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Yes, and I still come from school saying that. I love them. I would much rather be at home cuddling my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old, who will probably be in bed by the time I get home. But here, on behalf of my students, I am here for them. I am not here for personal beliefs. That is because my classroom is their home away from home. My role at school isn't just as a teacher, but as an adult in their life who is looking out for their best interest when they are under my supervision. I joke I'm their mother hen, partially because I have chickens. Speaking up for my students should be commended, not deterred. It is my duty. This year, the district took the stance that signage lending itself to advocacy beyond the scope of curriculum needs to be taken down. I've begun to reflect upon this statement. I realize that my day is filled with what could be considered beyond the curriculum. Telling a student they probably need to put on some deodorant, helping a student navigate asking someone to homecoming. My day is supposed to be filled with beyond the curriculum. If you were going to start to hold the standard that signage, lending itself to advocacy beyond the scope of curriculum, needs to be taken down, then it should be held for all. Clubs, sports.
30 seconds.
Extracurriculars, homecoming. Sorry, Packers signs, Bucks, Admirals, Brewers. The rule needs to be enforced uniformly. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Rebecca, followed by Carly Sedushek? Carol Sedushek. Sorry. I apologize for mispronouncing folks' names. Rebecca, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. My name is Rebecca. My family lives in Waukesha. Because this school board has chosen to disregard the recommended COVID mitigation strategies, my husband and I have transferred our 6-year-old out of the Waukesha School District for the time being. I'm here today to speak about another safety issue in our district, the recent signage policies in our schools. However, in actuality, it's deeper than signs, isn't it? The words displayed in our schools, and equally the absence of certain words and signs in our schools, are reflective of our values as a district. In our district, how can "this is an anti-racist classroom" be considered political or controversial? Don't we all stand against racism? As a district, how can signage supporting our LGBTQ+ community be considered political or controversial? Don't we want to have safe spaces for our LGBTQ students to discuss their identity and any discrimination or harassment they may have faced? How can signs that welcome all and promote inclusivity of all races, genders, sexual orientations, abilities, etc. be controversial? Isn't being inclusive, safe, and compassionate at the very foundation of an education? I have heard it said, well, our schools are safe already, so we don't need signs. First of all, if this is the thought process that schools are already safe, then how is posting a sign about it controversial at all? Second, we know from research, much research, and we know from previous speakers to this board that our schools aren't safe spaces for every student. To ignore that there is at times racism, sexism, or prejudice against our LGBTQ community exacerbates the trauma. To say everything is fine, we're just here to learn
3
reading and
seconds.
math, exacerbates the trauma. So here's where the signs come in. They are a reminder to all of our deeper values. They are an outward indication of the type of community for which we strive. A safe, inclusive community, free of hate, discrimination, and prejudice. They are signs of expectation. In this school, in this district, we are anti-racist. We are compassionate toward traditionally marginalized humans. We are learning and growing. We are works in progress, but we are committed as a school community to being the healthiest possible. None of this is political or controversial.
Time.
Thank you, Rebecca. Sorry for mispronouncing your name before. Carol, followed by Paul Reese. Welcome, Carol.
Good evening. I'm speaking on the behalf of Ed McGow. I am a father of 2 kids in our district. First off, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of the board members for their time and dedication to the school district of Waukesha. I know this must frequently feel like a thankless job, but please know that you are valued and there are many families out here that greatly appreciate all your efforts. As we are all aware, the past year and a half have been challenging for administration, staff, parents, and children. During this time, there have been many decisions that have had to be made that were unlike anything ever dealt with before. The board had to act on issues pertaining to health, masks, meals, books, and controversial signs, as well as many others. These items were thoroughly thought over, discussed, and finally the decisions were made on how to address them. We have all seen how these decisions were attacked by people outside of our community. Not just people, though. These were organized groups that have beliefs different than our own goals, and our own goal is to force others into following their
30
rule.
seconds.
These groups should have no voice into the decision we have regarding our children and our community. The decisions that impact our families are for us to make, nobody else. So when considering the decisions that you make, please remember to always focus on our community and ignore the outside forces that are working to dictate our action and to change our beliefs. There is a lawsuit coming brought about by sad, angry, broken man. Please don't give in. Fight for us. Send this political group back to where they came.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Paul, followed. Maybe Arthur Silson? Sorry, I just can't read your name. Silson, I think is your last name. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks. Good evening. I'm here. I thank you, Dr. Siebert, for all you've done.
Or Autumn. I'm sorry, Paul. I'll have you start over. I think it's Autumn. I think it's Autumn is who's on deck. Let's start. Yeah, let Paul start over. Sorry about that, Paul.
That's all right. Thanks, Dr. Siebert, for all you do for this community and the time and the effort that you put in to clear up some things that have been done in this community that were hoisted upon it without the knowledge and consent of the community. These classrooms are where my kids go to, and I disagree with these people. I am not their enemy, though. I don't look at just because I'm not their ally does not make me their enemy. I just disagree fundamentally and spiritually. This comes from where I stand with God and what my belief is with God. God said, those who proclaim me before men, Christ said that. Those who proclaim me before men, I will proclaim to the Father. Those who deny me before men, I will deny before the Father. What does he mean? Because no one's really up here declaiming him or denying him. There's a gap in between. What does he mean by that? Where is his authority? Where is his role in humanity? How does he govern us? These are my beliefs. Christ said, now if I'm going to follow his authority and what he said, according to Mark in chapter 10, verse 6, but from the beginning of creation, so when God first created everything, from the beginning, God made them male and female. That's it. And then it goes on to talk about what marriage is and what he expects. So if I follow his authority, that's what his word is to me, and that's what his authority is. So if I proclaim him,
30
I'm going
seconds.
to follow his authority and what he tells me, even when it goes against what benefits me, what I desire. Remember, he also told Cain, sin crouches at your door. It wants to have you. You must resist. These are things that are important to me in my life and in my house, that are proclaimed in my house. And I don't want my kid being subjected to things that I disagree with, as they don't want a Christian flag in their classroom. They don't want creationism taught.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Autumn, followed by Melissa Temple.
I'm Autumn's mom. I'm just going to stand with her.
Okay. Sorry for not being able to
It's
put your
okay.
name. Welcome.
All right, Mom. You ready? Rebel. Ready? Okay.
Thank you, Mom.
Okay. Go ahead.
Gilligan. I am in 8th grade at Hording Middle. I don't want the signs to be taken down because the signs make people who are LGBTQ and people of other races safe. The signs are being taken down because they are too political, but they are not. The signs have been helping people feeling welcome in the classroom and feeling safe around their teacher. If the signs are taken down, people will feel less safe and feel like the teachers don't care about them and feel like they're not welcome. I wanted to thank people in the community and the district for supporting the LGBTQ community and for supporting racial equality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Autumn. Melissa Temple, followed by Melissa Bushman. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi. I'm a nationally board certified teacher and I've been licensed in Wisconsin for 20 years. When I came to work here, I didn't understand why my friends and family were shocked. I've always been an advocate for LGBTQ youth and racial equity in schools, and I have never been afraid to speak up for what is in the best interest of my students and their families. I always put students first. I thought, sure, Waukesha is different, but don't all school districts want to create a safe and accepting environment for students? This year, when we were banned from posting Black Lives Matter, anti-racist classroom, safe space, and other LGBTQ supportive signs in our classrooms, my colleagues explained to me why they can't speak out. I heard things like, I can't afford to lose my job, and I'm too afraid to speak out or take a stand. At first, I didn't understand it. Why do teachers feel unsafe speaking about their experiences, understanding, and knowledge about our students? Now I understand. Teachers are already being disciplined for speaking out against the LGBTQ sign ban. Additionally, the gaslighting that has come from our district administration this fall is crazy making. For example, I was told by district leadership via email that, quote, if one room has an anti-racist sign and the next doesn't, that could signal in this case that the latter is not anti-racist. What? That doesn't make any logical sense. And signs that say all are welcome and you matter were banned because they are political?
30 seconds.
In what world is that making someone feel valued political? An SDW alumnus came to a board meeting and said that safe space signs were the only reason they are still alive. And yet our top district administrators continue to say that students will feel safe without the signs. It's been a month since the signs were removed, and we have heard no plan on how we are going to support students from our most at-risk populations. I hope that using my First Amendment right to speak out tonight does not result in discipline.
Thank you, Melissa. Melissa Bushman, followed by Erica
I am Melissa
Kohansky.
Oops, sorry.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
You can start, yeah.
I am Melissa Bushman. I'm a parent in the district and an advocate. You have heard from the parents, the teachers, and most importantly, these amazing students. Please hear them. Bullying is an issue. 3,717 people have signed a petition to allow friendly, non-political, welcoming, and safe space signage in our schools, and to also unpause equity and diversity training. I don't understand how the administration and the board can hear these students, they are amazing, and not do everything in your power to help them and support them and make them feel safe. We need someone to step up and do the right thing for our students. Instead, we have politicized our students' existence, and you've created an even more hostile environment of hate. These kids need more support, more equity training, more signs to help them feel safe and supported. Another parent spoke tonight about the achievement gap. If you want students to succeed, support them, love them, keep them safe, and keep safe space signage in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Erica, followed by Chris Nestinger-Palm. Erica, welcome.
Hi. Tonight I'd like to read you recent Facebook posts from district parents and community members. These posts serve as evidence of exactly why we continue to demand that the decision to remove inclusive signage in our schools needs to be rescinded. I will omit the names of the posters, but some of you might recognize your own writing in here. Quote, leave your sexual preference, gender, etc. at the door when you come to school. School is about learning, not about these other outside controversial issues. If nobody knew your sexual preference, gender identity, or religion, etc., maybe most of this type of bullying would stop, end quote. Quote, teach kids how to handle bullies, and the bullies will move along. Life will never get easy if we bubble wrap them. The world can be a scary place sometimes. This is no joke. I will freely speak to any kid who needs help with bullies. I will train them on not being affected by the words of others, end quote. Quote, I want a sign that says, this is a safe space for heterosexual white Catholics, smiley face, end quote. Quote, I do not agree with having to accept a lifestyle, but that does not make me ignorant or racist. This country is far less racist than the media, woke narratives, and cancel cultures notate. Just more talking points to divide and make our kids think government is the answer and that they should be guilted into the equity narrative, end quote. Quote, why should our kids even have to process all of these polarizing adult issues? Here, kids, we want you to know that there is systemic racism in our schools and white people are privileged, and we want you to do some soul searching to discover your personal biases and make an action plan for how you are going to be anti-racist going forward. I'll end there. I want to finish up. Quote, so white people and heterosexual are not celebrated? True inclusivity would have everyone celebrated, right? Quote, the rainbow flag does nothing to build support of gay people.
Thank you, Erica.
I can go on and on if anybody wants.
Followed by Dave Richmond. Welcome, Chris.
I'm going to make you say my last name again. I'm Chris Nestingen-Palm.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
A teacher's job is to prepare their students to be productive, responsible members of our society. Directing teachers to remove signage about social issues is not advocating for their education. Furthermore, it's not even political. It's part of our U.S. history. How can teachers build a welcoming atmosphere without addressing the elephant in the room? Some lives seem to matter less. How does one focus on developing relationships with students while ignoring the oppressive atmosphere of inequity pervasive in our community? Do not advocate that teachers and adults bury their heads in the sand. That would be shameful. That would be harmful to the kids. I'm requesting that you reverse the sign ruling. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Dave Richmond, followed by Joy Jacobs. Welcome, Dave.
I promise I will not yell and or scream as I did at the last meeting. Does not mean I'm no less angry. I was at the meeting here on Monday. There was more conversation about athletics and conversation about, what we need to do. There has been zero from this board about the sign policy. I've lost track of how many people have come up and spoken on the sign policy. And none of you have brought it up at a meeting. Well, we can talk about, athletic in the athletic field, and let's pound ourselves on the back. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing. The number one responsibility when you ran for this board, or you are running for superintendent, or the deputy superintendent, was the well-being of the students. You're not doing it. If you aren't emotionally upset by these speakers tonight, you are in the wrong place. If you are running for political office, get off the board. We don't need it. And if you think we're not going to keep noticing this, and it's not some left-wing conspiracy, run for school board, you run for school board. You want to run for something else, take your time and run someplace else. It is in the policy that the superintendent is not supposed to pass policy. Thank you. It is not supposed to pass policy. It is incumbent on the board to pass policy and discuss policy. It is in, if you guys can bother to read that, as a board, you need to take this to the superintendent and have those conversations. You're not going to agree on it, that's fine. But you need to have those conversations. And shame on you for focusing on athletic fields and not listening to all these darn stories tonight.
Time.
Thank you, Dave. Joy, followed by Susie Nitsky. Joy? Joy's first. Welcome, Joy.
Hi. I'm a senior at North. And I can't say anything better than anybody else. I hope you guys listen to what they say, what they've said. And since the school board, or since the school district seemingly won't reinstate, put up signs again. For everybody that shared their stories tonight, I wanted to read a little bit of a song that Mr. Rogers wrote in 1971 and sang it all the time on his show. It goes, "It's you I like, it's not the things you wear, it's not the way you do your hair, but it's you I like. The way you are right now, the way deep down inside you. Not the things you hide, not the things that hide you, not your toys, they're just beside you. But it's you I like, every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you I like." Mr. Rogers was super anti-racist. Had queer neighbors, and this was a show in the 70s.
30 seconds.
And why are we still having troubles with this? Why can't we have signs up? Be more like Mr. Rogers and say, "You can be my neighbor."
Thank you, Joey. Susie, followed by, give me just a moment here, Susie, just hold on. Pretty's blank. Clint, Weininger? Susie, welcome.
I want to start off by thanking you for standing your ground on lifting the COVID restrictions. My daughter has excelled extremely high in school since the masks have been taken off. I also know the lawsuit against Waukesha School District is absolutely ridiculous, and I stand here in front of the entire Waukesha School Board to give you encouragement to stand against a pending lawsuit against the board and the superintendent. It is my understanding that the suit is being brought on by a parent of a student that attends elementary school in our district, funded by an outsider who owns a brewery in Minocqua. Understand this, everything the CDC puts out is nothing more than a press release. The CDC does not have the power to make laws, nor does the brewery owner. On September 11th, the Democratic Party of Waukesha had a training on how to speak at Waukesha school boards, how to be an activist. I see a lot of the people are here. The comments under our Waukesha school board has been under attack. It needs to stop. The comments under some of these school board members' Facebook is absolutely disgusting and threatening. And if a tax-paying citizen, such as myself, likes a post or encourages a post, I get doxxed, I get threatened, you're gonna lose your job. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Take my job away for a day. Try it. I hear so much about the signs. We want signs. Don't take down our signs. Why don't you focus on your education versus the sign hanging in your school? Why don't you focus on science, reading, writing, math? I love all people because all lives matter. If you want to push the agenda to students, I want every room to hang a Waukesha Police Department sign because the children that are bullied for supporting the police, they're called Nazis, racists, white supremacists, and bullying comes from many that are in the schools that are begging for the other signs. These kids need a safe space to go also. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Clint, followed by Pearl Wismar. Welcome, Clint.
Very hard to hear in between. Thank you. Good evening. I'm here tonight to comment on the lawsuit brought against us. I say us because the lawsuit wasn't just brought against you. It was brought against our entire community. Contrary to what the lawsuit says, the plaintiff's attorney and Ms. Jensen do not represent me, my family, or many others in this community. I wanted to voice my family's support to the administrative staff and school board members and encourage you to fight this frivolous lawsuit with all of our abilities and resources. Once again, outside forces are trying to bully us. They are upset because our parents in our district took action and assumed control of our students' welfare. I say, leave us alone. We can decide what is right for our community. They are trying to be very melodramatic with such phrases as incredibly dangerous learning environment. I don't know what they are talking about, as my wife and daughter spend a lot of time in this environment every day without concern. Last week, I had the opportunity to enter the snake pit and attend a super spreader event. Yeah, it was homecoming, and it was awesome. Friday night, the stadium was full with students, parents, and fans from the community. Students were out and having fun. And on Saturday, students were getting dressed up, getting together, packing the gyms, and socializing. There was a lot of joy and people just living their lives. This was good for the health of our students and our community. This wouldn't have been possible without the decisions made by this board. Many of us have missed out and lost a lot more over the last year and a half than Ms. Jensen. It's time to move on. I think the following line from the lawsuit says it all. Quote, this action focuses almost exclusively on questions of law.
30 seconds.
And it's not particularly fact specific. Yeah, go figure. No facts in that. For them to bring this ridiculous lawsuit means we are doing it right. Please do not capitulate, rather fight this lawsuit with all our might, because if we don't, where will this ever end? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Clint. Pearl, followed by Libby Miller. Welcome, Pearl.
Hi, my name is Pearl Wismar. I'm a ninth grader at Waukesha West. I strongly believe that, quote, political signs should not have been taken down. I myself and many other students have had experiences where we have heard awful insults and slurs against LGBTQ plus people and other minorities. Not knowing if situations where I and other people feel threatened for their own safety will be taken seriously is important. And while you say that we should all feel equal, having safe space signs makes us sure that we will be. And as you've heard from other speakers tonight, it's clearly not equal in school. I've been told by a staff member at Waukesha West that a safe space sign with no color or extra wording, just the word safe space, was not allowed to be hung up. There's nothing about the political about the word safe space. They are simply there to show that students that this is a safe space, no matter what their beliefs are. I'm reading a story from a friend now. When I was in middle school at STEM Saratoga, I had a teacher who I came down to needing to talk about harassment I was experiencing from homophobic kids at school. I wouldn't have known that they were a safe teacher to come out to with their without their LGBTQ plus flags. I know that not everyone is fortunate enough to express themselves at home and school. Maybe their only safe place. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearl. Libby, followed by Leah Pina. Hi, Libby. Welcome.
I'm Libby Miller. I'm the attorney coach for Waukesha South State Champion mock trial team. And our mock trial team is comprised of a very diverse group of students who also happen to be excellent citizens of their school. I want to talk to you about something that happened to 4 of my students last year over the lunch hour. Because of COVID, they're off campus at a fast food restaurant, waiting in line, when other South students who were behind them start making derogatory comments about the sexual orientation of 3 of my kids. It didn't get better from there. In fact, that particular incident ended with the other students throwing their garbage and soda at my kids. Good students. So my kids get back to school, and one of them decides she's had enough. She's had enough of her friends being taunted and tormented by other kids in the school, both at school and out of school, because of their sexual orientation. So she decides to talk to a teacher. And she knows which teacher she can go to because of the sign. The sign told my student, this is a safe person to talk to. I know if I talk to this person, they're going to listen to me. They're going to accept what I'm telling them. This particular person's not going to say, boys will be boys, or let it slide. They would take it seriously because of the sign. So I know the signs help. And if
30 seconds.
Help, why are we making teachers take them down? There's no harm in having the signs. The signs are not political. They're human. Please consider, Dr. Siebert, I beg you, reconsider your decision. It's impacting students all of our students, but some of our students who you should be proud of, who I know this board is proud of because their picture was on the school district's website for several months this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Leah, followed by Marquel Moore. Welcome, Leah.
Hi, thanks. I'm a student at Waukesha West High School. My concern lies with teaching students tolerance and respect. Right now, I feel we don't have any passive measure to do this after the pride flags were taken down in our classrooms. It is my understanding that they were taken down because their controversy threatens the neutral environment you all want to create. In the superintendent's own words, that environment should be a space where the curriculum can be taught and where students can grow socially, emotionally, and academically. So let me give you a glimpse into what I hear in the halls. I hear kids using queer in a derogatory way. I've heard stories of other students being called the F word for things as simple as wearing nail polish. These are but 2 examples of intolerance and disrespect in my school. They are subtle. I want to propose to you a subtle way to counter it as well. I propose the pride flags be returned to the walls. I get that pride flags are swamped in controversy, and that controversy makes people uncomfortable, which goes on to threaten neutrality. However, pride flags are a direct reflection of real kids. This is why that uncomfortable feeling over flags translates over to us, the students. It is the reason why I, and I'm sure many other kids, feel just a little less safe, a little less welcome. Do you understand? Socially and emotionally, I am worse off than before.
30 seconds.
Naturally, this threatens my growth in academics. This neutral environment is flawed. It does not serve all students. It serves the straight ones. The school board of all people should understand that this is not something that can be sacrificed nor overlooked. If you truly want to create the best possible environment for everyone, it starts with teaching us how to respect everyone. That is what the pride flag is meant to do. Prioritize respect and tolerance. Give us back our safe space.
Thank you, Leah. And Marquel. Welcome.
My name is Markel. I'm a school teacher, and I teach third grade. Now, I'm here to give a different perspective. Several years ago, my nieces and I, my family moved to Waukesha from Milwaukee. Again, we thought it was going to be a better quality of life and great neighborhoods and a chance at a high-quality education. There has been some concerns, and I think I've addressed this several times already, with some of the curriculum that my nieces are learning in school. Some of the curriculum is just teaching the students about, America being a bad country. And I think that we should teach our kids the original sin of this country, but we also should teach the kids the goodness of this country. I don't want my nieces to ever succumb to the fact that because of their skin color, they can't make it in this country. And I don't want them to realize that because of their skin color, that they shouldn't hold themselves to the highest expectations that other students hold themselves to and that the teachers hold themselves to. I'm very disappointed in some of the things I saw in my niece's school. The lack of expectations for students of color because of their skin color, that is racism. We should hold all students to the high standards in this country or in our classrooms. As a teacher myself, I do that same thing. With a bachelor's degree in elementary education, I don't care who's in my class, whether they're black, white, or pinstripe. I hold all students to the high standards. And I also think that I don't want her to just see a sign to validate her. I want her own thoughts to validate her. So I don't need a sign. Not saying that I'm against it, but I want her to her own thoughts and her own beliefs to validate her own self and know that because of her own hard work and her own achievement, she can do anything in this free country we call the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Markel. We appreciate everyone's comments tonight. We're going to move on to our minute approval. We do have 4 minutes to be approved. September 15th, public hearing. September 15th, the regular board meeting. September 29th, executive session for expulsion panel. And September 30th, there was an executive session. Do I so have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Montijo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Roddy. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Okay, Stacy, please take the roll call vote.
Corey Montijo.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek. Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Kelly Piaczyk.
Aye.
Joe Como.
Aye. Passes 9-0, Stacy. Moving on to our communications, we'll begin with our superintendent.
None to report, Mr. Como.
Okay. And Mr. Montijo, do we have a Waukesha Education Foundation?
We do, and a very good one, Mr. President.
Excellent.
Hopefully I'll do it justice. So the Waukesha Education Foundation, or as we call it, WEF, met October 6th of this year. We have had a great number of donations. There have been private donors, and the amounts have been fantastic. The new scholarship, the Noah Mraz Memorial Scholarship, has done fantastically well. It is over $41,000 as we speak, which is a tremendous amount more than it was even last month. Wow. So we've been very pleased about that and ask people to continue their support. As you saw tonight, WEF does great work. It's just a great organization. I'd also like to commend our executive director, Lynette Kelmage. She was selected to be a guest speaker to talk about fundraising in the education sector. She's done a wonderful job as WEF's executive director, and it's a great honor for us to have her there. I would note that there is going to be an Elegant Farmer Pie Sale coming up. The pie sale will run from October 27th to November 6th of this year. Pickup should be on November 17th from 5 to 7 p.m. at South High School. Anybody who has not had a Elegant Farmer Pie is wrong and should get one. They're very good.
I really like the the apple pie ones in
They're
the bag.
fantastic.
Yeah,
the crust
that's
is better
fantastic.
than anything. Our biggest event of the year is the Evening for Education. WEF has worked extremely hard to make this, again, I think it's going to be a great event. It's coming up next Thursday, October 21st. The deadline to purchase tickets, and we do still have some left, is this Friday. We've sold nearly all sponsorships, which is great. We have 220 of the 300 seats filled, but we do still need people to buy tickets. Again, it's a well worth the cost, and it's a great event. We are looking still for volunteers to help with that event. As you can imagine, it's a large event. We need more people. So if you're looking for an opportunity to help the community and help this district, here it is. Please contact the WEF. A link to the Waukesha Education Foundation is on the school board or school district's website, and then you can just Google Waukesha Education Foundation as well. Besides that, they remain busy, and we're focused on the next step. So they've been doing a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Montiel. Moving on to our charter school and program report given by Mr. Baumgart.
Yes, I do have a couple of reports for you. First one is on the Environmental Education Center. Last September, I was riding my bike just past the Environmental Education Center. I bumped into Erica and asked if I could have a brief tour. And my response to that tour was, wow, there is so much more going on there than a few years back. It's wonderful. There's more space for classrooms, storage, live animals for the students to see, sometimes hold, samples of numerous animals in a diorama center that are available, or you could find in Wisconsin. Things that students, it's so important about what the students are getting by doing it rather than just hearing about it. And upon opening the building and walking into the building, I was also passing boxes filled with veggies. I am told that these are grown in a garden and will be going to the food pantry, a great example of the breadth of our work. When I was doing this, it was still be in September. I wrote this when I got home essentially from my ride, but when I put the above pieces together, I wasn't aware of the fact that there would be an open house held on October 10th, recognizing the 45th anniversary of our environmental center. I did go to that. It was this past Sunday. It was very well done, where the children with parents could see a wealth of environmental aspects and how they pertain to our environment. I also saw the vegetable garden and the house where the students learn how the food is planted, raised, and provided to the food pantry. This visit was as much fun for me as it was for the kids. The other item I want to comment on is the four-year-old kindergarten curriculum. This actually came out of, I was talking to one of the parents at the environmental center when she was there with her children. Found out that she's got a kid in our 4K program, and I said, how's it going? Well, she said, on the evening of October 7th, parents and children from all of our 4K schools could attend this program on the 4K curriculum. Parents were able to learn from our teachers what and how the curriculum works at the 4K level. Meanwhile, the children could be there and would be in a room with staff to experience what actually goes on in the school. So it was just an accidental thing that was very impressive with me. Then she really enjoyed it. This mother really enjoyed it, and her little guy did too. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgart. Appreciate it. And the final piece of our general business tonight is the approval of our district key performance indicators. We've had a couple of workshops on our goals and talking about our key performance indicators and our dashboard, and turn it over to Dr. Siebert to maybe bring us up to speed on our work that we've
Absolutely. Done. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Como. So thank you to the board for the couple of workshops that we had, the first being on June 30th and the second being on October 4th. The cabinet and I really appreciated your feedback, and so we are now prepared after the last workshop to come forward with the final version of this document. And the purpose of this document is to really help us focus our efforts in the spirit of continuous improvement. And we're looking at, as you know, 4 key goal areas, one being teaching and learning, another being student engagement and parent satisfaction, the third being employee satisfaction and engagement, and the fourth being operations and finance. And so under each of those areas, we have key performance indicators that we will continue to monitor, and we'll do that internally as well as externally, as Mr. Como said, via dashboards that we'll develop. And then the vision is to have a large board right over there on that blank empty wall space behind the podium that we'll be able to have it prominent for us to look at all times. So happy to answer any questions, as are my colleagues in the cabinet, and we appreciate your consideration.
Any questions or comments on this work? You know, we've spent a significant amount of time on this. Mr. Dietz?
Dr. Siebert, I see there's a lot of, or I see it mentioned that there's a parent survey, there's a student survey, and there's a staff survey. Have those surveys been developed already?
We have a student survey that we've been using for many years, and so we have longitudinal data that when we'll continue to use that survey, some of that surveying has already started. And then Sharon and I will be working with a company to engage for both the parent and the staff survey, and then we'll be able to start to have longitudinal data there as well.
Will it be just a number rating, or will there also be an opportunity for each of those subgroups to make comments?
There's an opportunity for comments, and then what we really like about these surveys is that they are then ballparked against other districts that are very similar to us. So we can compare ourselves within the district, but we can also compare ourselves to comparable districts to see where we are strong and where we have areas for growth.
And are they given once a year, or, okay?
Yes, once a year. And generally speaking, we'd like to do them, we think, in the fall. So Sharon and I are working on that together as we speak.
Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Reincheck?
Thank you. Dr. Siebert, are the parents allowed to see the student surveys?
I don't know that. The student survey, they're generally electronic. But if that was something that we wanted to do, I don't know that there's any reason that we couldn't share it with parents. Mm-hmm.
And if I may, I think we would have to share that so that we can't identify students, just like is the case with any other data. So as long as that is, totaling data, if you wish.
I think, Ms. Reincheck, are you referring to just the parents are aware of the questions we're asking? Yes, I think we can certainly. I think we can certainly do that.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Did you raise your hand, Dr. Pasek?
Thank you. Just a couple of comments and then maybe a follow-up question.
Sure.
First, just to start, this is excellent. I'm so glad that we're doing this, and I know it's the first time, so it's a good starting point. I would like to kind of just keep some opportunities in mind. I'm glad that we're looking at district report card against other districts. I think that we also need to continue to look at district or report card for some of our individual schools. And I think those individual progress measures are very important. So I'd like to potentially track that as a sub metric. It doesn't necessarily need to be a KPI on this starting point, but we talked about opportunities to look at progress and not necessarily just the grade. Right. And I think that's important because, 2/3 of our students are going to schools that I think have room for improvement on that report card rating. The other is just kind of getting back to the operations and finance goals. I struggle with them. They're not super quantitative. So I don't know what that looks like if we're tracking them on a dashboard. But at this point, it seems a majority of them are more of a narrative than a number target that we're trying to meet. And maybe that's just something that we work through this year as we work on this dashboard. How can we start to quantify the financial metrics? Because I feel like that's a place where we probably could have a little bit more quantitative tracking than what I think I'm seeing in the current document.
Sure. Agreed.
Oh, so here's my question.
Yes.
The culture survey under the employee side, if I'm not mistaken, there was a culture survey on the student side as well. Is that the student engagement, hope and wellness survey?
Yes.
And there are questions about belonging, if I'm not mistaken, in that survey? Okay.
I'd have to defer to Dr. Cook or Ms. Landish.
Ms. Landish?
You're right, Dr. Piasek. So the Engagement, Hope, and Wellness Survey does talk about that. And we can give, why don't I put a copy of the questions in the Friday update for the board? And I appreciate the comments from Karen about having parents know the questions. That's an easy ask from our principals. The Performance Culture Index for our staff is just a 12-question survey, and it hits more on, are you supported by your principal? Are your professional learning communities operating in a way where you're collaborating with peers and things like that? So I can give you a copy of that as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Montiel.
Thank you. In this day and age, it's easy to just kind of all the things the district's looking at, the administration's doing, it's easy, I guess, to just kind of look at the things where we think are troublesome or need drastic improvement. I just don't want the opportunity to slip by to say how important and how impressed I am with this. This is a huge deal. And this will do great things for the district. You'll never hit a goal unless you define it. And literally to put up on the wall is fantastic. It creates clearly, I think, a clear goal, and the goal is you can't pick a higher goal than that. That's what our students deserve. That's what we ask of the administration, and that's what I think you're going to deliver. So thank you. Of all the, I don't want to say negativity, but of all the things we talk about, this is a gigantic thing. So thank you to the administration. No, it's not as simply as typing, or as simple as typing this on a piece of paper. I can tell how much work went into it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montiel.
So one of the things that this really falls under the umbrella of our responsibility is to hold administration accountable in the achievement area. And, many of these things we have been doing, not all of them, but one of the things that I'd like to let our audience know is the dashboard will make this very accessible to you. So I'm very excited in terms of the accountability aspect and the visibility aspect. Again, we've been doing a number of these things, but we have them at our regular committee meetings, report out, and then we report that up at the board level. But this is going to be a nice, succinct area for us to be taking we can take a quick look and say, here's how we're doing in these things, and we make that available to you as a public. So I'm excited about that aspect of it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Como. We are too.
Any other questions, comments, or motions? Mr. Baumgart?
Item K, right? Approval for, I move for approval of the district key performance indicators as presented.
Is there a second to that? Second by Ms. Roddy. Further discussion? Questions? Hey, Stacy, will you please take the roll call vote?
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Corey Montiel.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy. Aye. Joseph Como.
Aye. Passes 9-0. Dr. Siebert, when do you think we'll see? I mean, this is something that we can get up on our website fairly quickly. This in a PDF format.
Absolutely.
But the dashboard's going to take a little bit of time, I'm assuming, to develop.
Just a little bit, I think. And what we can do is absolutely put the PDF on the website, and then we already have, Ms. Landish has created a plan for the collection of the data on a regular basis. And so we will have the baseline data uploaded shortly, and then we'll be able to start tracking as we move through time and through the year. So we'll move it forward as quickly as possible, and we appreciate your support of it.
And we look forward to it. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the consent agenda. Mr. Clark, do we have any gifts to report on?
Yes, we do. Here we go. 5 gifts tonight. Whittier Elementary School received a $2,000 donation from River Glen Christian Church. This gift will be used for food for 2 events for all families, Jumpstart and Open House, and also over over-the-head headphones for one of their classrooms. Whittier also received $750 from Crisis Prevention Institute. These dollars will be used for school supplies and teacher snacks and prizes. Les Paul Middle School received $4,851.50 from Paul and Kathleen Ullman. This will be used for technology for the building to inspire students. Whittier Elementary received $1,000 from River Glen Christian Church for activities for their after-school program scholarships. And West High School received $2,000 from Sharon Bloom, the baseball team's equipment, for the baseball team's equipment and supplies.
Thank you for those gifts. Again, our community is just really just very generous, and we thank you for these gifts. It's spectacular. It's becoming one of my favorite parts of the meeting, Mr. Clark. Yeah, yes. Your agenda includes various categories for approval. Included in the items for approval are the decisions of the expulsion panel, which met on September 29th, 2021. A confidential communication regarding the details of the expulsion was in your Friday packet, along with the minutes included under item number 1H. If any board member wishes to discuss this item, we do have scheduled an executive session at the close of the regular meeting. Approval of the consent agenda confirms full board agreement with the expulsion panel's action. We also do have, under policies and bylaws, we've included items for approval that are revision to policy number 1630.01, family and medical leave of absence, the FMLA. At this time, if there's any item that you'd like to have set aside for a separate consideration, please so indicate. Okay, seeing none. Amanda, Roddy, will you please present the consent agenda for approval?
Yes, Mr. President. Earlier this evening, the Human Resources and Compensation Committee approved of 2 resignations and 3 new or modified teacher contracts. This information was provided in your packet. I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Is there a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Dietz. Any discussion? Okay, Stacy, please take the roll call vote.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
Corey Montijo.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek. Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 9-0. Thank you, Ms. Roddy. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Siebert, you're back on again.
Turn my mic here. All right, thank you, Mr. Como. So, Dr. Cook and I are going to begin doing our monthly COVID-19 updates once again, starting this month, and we'll do those during the superintendent's report. Our focus will be on the number of student and staff cases as we move through the months, as well as the number of self-quarantines for both students and staff. And then we'll wrap up with a little update on our transition criteria and how we are progressing with those. So with that being said, we'll start walking through the presentation here. And the first slide talks about the staff weekly totals for positive cases. The key here is to see that that chart looks at, it starts at the baseline of 0 and then it goes up by increments of 5. So at the high point, and you're going to notice the high point for us was the week of September 24th in all of the slides that we show you. We started kind of ramping up to that point, which one might expect once we put everybody back in school. And then we've started to slowly decline since that point. So at that high point, we had 15 positive staff cases. We want to really commend our staff because a significant number of them took advantage of vaccination opportunities on their own or through the district clinic last spring. And so I think that goes a long way in helping these numbers be very positive and keeping them in front of our kids for teaching and learning. The second slide looks at the student weekly totals, and this is a combined chart of both positive cases and self-quarantines. And again, you can see the week of September 24th was a high point where we would combine positive cases, and we'll break down the cases separately for you in the next slide, and quarantines for a total of 386 during that particular week. but the week before 179, the week after 163. And as of today, we are significantly down in the 42 number of cases for kids and I think 5 for staff. So we're continuing to make solid progress in that regard. We also have in this chart the student weekly totals broken out by the difference between the positive cases and the self-selected quarantines for kids. And you can see that within that high week, we had 100 and I believe it's 39 cases and 247 self-quarantines. Since that point, both of those numbers have really come down nicely. And when we combine all of the kids as well as the staff together and look at the total positive cases, we broke it down by the staff cases in the what's kind of a tealish, if you will, the secondary students in a gray, and the elementary kids in the blue. You can see the difference there as well. And you can see at that high point, we had a number of secondary cases, and overall our elementary cases have been relatively lower via this data, and our staff cases have been, again, somewhat minimal. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cook to talk about the transition criteria. As you'll remember, we have a variety of internal and external factors that we review, and should we meet 6 of the 8 criteria that are listed here, we would reconvene for a special board meeting to engage you in a discussion on what possibilities we might want to look at. Currently, we're meeting 3 of the 8 transition criteria, and I'll allow Dr. Cook to talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we have, we've been monitoring this criteria all year. If you advance the slide, please. You can see where we've been at day by day. For the past several weeks, we've hit 3 criteria. 2 of them we've hit consistently. The hospital rates, we've hit consistently going back as far as I think anybody can remember. The one that has been an internal measurement that we've kept a close eye on has been the substitute teacher rate. I think we're sitting at about 68% of our substitute teaching vacancies have been filled. We've had some very high days of teacher absenteeism. That's not all COVID related. It's other things factor in where we've had nearly 100 teachers out and only 40 fills. So you start to see how that factors into that overall percentage. So we're very happy with where we've been at with this transition criteria. We're fortunate, our food service company has been able to maintain their staffing this year, so we haven't had any issues with food service. And we're also extremely fortunate, and I can't emphasize this enough, First Student has done a remarkable job of staffing the buses for us. We have been, kind of at that just barely cover, but that's far better than where many school districts are with their transportation companies. So First Student, our local company, has just done an excellent job of getting staff on board. So we are staffed. I know that they would like to have a few more drivers in reserve, but we've been able to maintain our routes through First Student. So.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. So just building a little on his substitute comments, so 68% is correct. That's been our district average this year, so it's under the 75% that we're shooting for. Traditionally, we're way higher than that, but some of the things that we've done to try and engage more substitutes that we talked a lot about during last school year, we raised our daily rate up to $130. We certainly recruited very heavily this summer. Esther did a great job. We had a major blitz at the fair, and we've continued to recruit heavily, and we are adding people to the substitute pool slowly but surely. I think one of the things to point out is a large portion of our substitute pool is made up of retirees of the district, and we still have a number of retirees, understandably so, that are nervous about coming back because of the ongoing nature of the pandemic. And I think as we continue to be able to show numbers like we described tonight, hopefully more and more people will become comfortable, and our sub pool will continue to become stronger with a number of our own retirees. So that, I think, yeah, that was the last slide. So Dr. Cook and I are certainly open to any questions that you might have.
Ms. Reincheck?
What do the substitute teachers have to have as far as education and their background? What do they need? Is it an associate's degree? Is it a teaching degree? Just so people can know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you know that, Dr. Cook? I believe it is.
It's an associate's degree,
right?
And a clean background check. And I do know that CISA used to, I think they still do, run a training for substitute teachers so that they can, if you're from a different industry, different background, you can kind of get a understanding, a lay of the land as to, what to expect when you go in and sub. So there's some training for substitute teachers outside of the district, and then we do internal training for our sub pool every year.
Good question, Ms. Reinachek. Thank you.
Mr. Montiel.
Thank you. I would just note that people who are interested in subbing need to have their transcripts ready. They have to submit them, so sometimes it takes a little bit of time. If they're interested, they should get going on that quickly. So,
thank you, Mr. Montiel.
Other questions or comments? Dr. Piasek?
Another question on the sub vacancies. Are they mostly teachers, mostly aides? What does that distribution look like?
We have a spreadsheet here. Let's see if we can tell that. Dr. Cook, feel free to start if you like.
We do. What factors into the overall absenteeism is aides do factor into that. Now, that doesn't, we have had some high days with teachers out, but the aide fill rate does factor in. And we have a number of vacant aide positions in the district that do go unfilled on a day-to-day basis. So I don't necessarily know how that breaks out. Dr. Siebert's pulling up the chart, but aides have factored into that sub-fill rate for us in the past.
So with teachers, so far we have had 900. We've had 941 filled, 416 not filled out of a total need of 1,357 to date. So that's a 73% rate. The assistant rate is lower, obviously, looking at this. 383 have needed a sub. We've filled 168 for a percentage of 49%. And the health room, slightly higher, 54.9%. 83 needing subs and 46 filled. So Esther and Sharon monitor this data relatively very consistently. So for that, where we combine all those for that overall, now it's down to 67.88.
I have a follow-up question. Thank you. I lost my question. Is the daily rate for the sub the same whether it's an aide position or a teacher position?
I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I don't know that.
I do
we
know
can
in
get
some
that for you.
instances, Dr. Piasek, that when we do have an aide vacancy, for instance, in special education, we sometimes advertise that as a sub for the teacher, just to see if we could get somebody in to help provide coverage for kids. So we are taking that extra step even around aides. We are, reassigning people to try to bring some balance to making sure that the kids who need the coverage get the coverage.
I guess
Mr. Clark might have some more information.
Unless you get into staff, like Joe was just talking about covering for each other, it might be a little different, but just generally aide substitutes are paid less than teacher substitutes.
Do you know at what rate, or is it a daily rate like we do?
No,
like
theirs
we
is
have for
hourly.
teachers?
The teachers are daily rate, and I don't know them off the top of my head.
And so what I'm really wondering is there anything that could be done financially? I mean, a lot of companies are offering incentives to try to get people to come to work these days. It's not a huge amount. I understand that, this is sometimes just an extra gig that some folks are taking on when they can. Do you feel like we have people who could do it who aren't taking the opportunities, or do we not? We just don't have enough subs available?
I would think we did adjust the pay for I'll just talk teachers for now, for them quite a bit larger than we have in the past, and that didn't seem to move the needle. But what happened was everyone in the county moved their daily rates. So I think it's a product of not having enough supply out there of people who are willing to come in. But that's just my gut feeling. I don't have a firm answer for you on that.
Yeah, so we went from 110 to 130?
115 to 130.
Okay, 115 to 130.
And I think we're still on the upper echelon in the county for substitute teacher pay, but you're talking a few dollars. I mean, you're not talking $30 difference or anything. You're probably talking $5 difference, $10.
I was at a countywide meeting with People Services Directors from Waukesha County last week, and all of the districts that were represented at that meeting shared that there was an overall sub shortage in their district, and that they were, kind of patching coverage together, similar to what we're doing.
Mr. Dietz.
Could you tell me some various ways that positions are covered within the building when there's not a substitute available?
Well, in some cases, and this works better at the secondary level, we have building subs. And so it's much easier with older children or students, young adults, to put maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 classes together in a library when we're short and have one person oversee it. And so we've been able to have some success with that strategy. At the elementary, that doesn't quite work so well. Kids need much more individualized attention. However, we are confident that, and hopeful, I guess is a better word, that if we can create more scenarios at the secondary where we can have the building sub concept, it may free up additional subs to allow us to serve the elementary differently. So that's kind of a thought. But Dr. Cook or Ms. Landish or Mr. Clark, feel free.
The only thing I would add, and just continue on with, is that our teachers are picking up extra hours throughout the day to put things together for the kids, to make sure that the kids have the opportunity that they need that day.
So we don't have classes that are uncovered?
Well, from a dedicated staff member, yes, we would have classes that are covered, but there's nobody who's unsupervised.
Okay.
They may not be able to find a substitute teacher for me,
right,
but a rotating group of teachers is going to come through and provide covered. So how you identify covered versus uncovered, it's just the sub availability. Sub would be covered all day long. The other one would be kind of band-aided together as the day went forward.
And I'm not sure, Dr. Siebert, if you were talking about adding more building-wide subs to the district, I mean, at least temporarily. Could there be so many at the elementary level that could be rotated throughout, or just an idea?
Mrs. Thiede has a plan for that, and and principals work on, I think it's some sort of a application or a proposal, if you will, on how they'd like to use it, and she entertains all of those, and we work to fulfill them wherever we can.
Because it's an advantage. I mean, I'm sure there are certain perks to being a building sub compared to being a regular substitute teacher.
Just a voice from out of this room. Sharon just texted me, yes, we are looking at those things. And yes, we did that last year, and we are looking to expand that building sub concept and those large area concepts. The key to those large area coverage is you have to have room in your building. Some of our buildings are actually quite full, but Sharon wanted me to know that we are working on both of those things. So,
thank you.
And the building subs too. I mean, what's nice about the building subs is the students, get to know and expect those people to be helping out as needed, and they build relationships, and we know the kids are more engaged. The better the relationships that they have with the adults. So there are some good positives. So it'd be something perhaps that we might want to. You had asked earlier to in the HR committee to have some things agendized. I will at the appropriate time toss it out here for we put on the HR committee to take a closer look at the building subs. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Dr. Siebert. Okay, moving on to our committee reports. This is where the heavy lifting is done. And as you know, we do rotate who reports out first. And this month, Teaching and Learning, given by Mr. Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting was held on October 5th, 2021 at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. 2 discussion information items appear on the agenda for Teaching and Learning this evening. Our first discussion information item was the secondary math update. The secondary math department is moving into the implementation phase of its new scope and sequence. This fall, the School District of Waukesha launched Integrated Math 1 at the high school and the middle school levels in place of algebra. An implementation team comprised of math teachers, instructional coaches, administrators, and district leaders collaboratively identified metrics for success and layers for professional learning to ensure a guaranteed and viable curriculum for all. Following the curriculum design process, subsequent course developments are also underway, including Integrated Math 2 and Integrated Math 3. Additionally, middle school mathematics will be a curricular review this year as well. Rachel Herman, our secondary learning director, Dan Pochinski, our math coach, and also A.J. Rabel, a math teacher at South High School, were present at the meeting to review the process and answer questions.
Any comments, discussion, questions? Okay, Greg.
Okay. Our second discussion information item was an update on the pilot of Advanced Placement English 11, Language and Composition. The Advanced Placement English 11 Language and Composition course is seeking to adopt a new textbook resource to align to the newly revised College Board curriculum and exam. Over the course of the 2020-2021 school year, the AP 11 teachers piloted the text, The Language of Composition, 3rd edition, published by Bedford, Freeman, and Worth. This text is highly recommended by the AP College Board because of its alignment to the curriculum, the standards, and the rigorous learning experiences expected in AP language courses. Rachel Herman, our Director of Secondary Learning, was at the meeting to provide our Teaching and Learning Committee with a strong rationale for why the textbook was chosen as a pilot, why it is being recommended for adoption, and a plan for implementation and professional development should it be approved by the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting that's coming up in December.
This is also a discussion item. Any comments or questions? Okay, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report for this evening. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Dietz. Moving on to Government Relations Committee, given by Ms. Reinacek.
Mr. President. Good evening. The last Government Relations Committee meeting was held on September 29th, 2021 at 9 a.m. here in the boardroom at the Lindholm Building. The quarterly meetings of our committee are recorded and available for viewing on our district website and YouTube channel. 4 discussion items and information items appear on the agenda for government relations this evening. Number 1, the review of summer legislation connections and meetings. Throughout the summer and early fall, 7 visits occurred with local, statewide, and national elected officials and/or their staffers. These meetings were attended by Ms. Roddy, Mr. Zenobia, and myself, as well as Darren Clark and Dr. Siebert. The purpose of the meetings were to maintain and further build upon relationships between the School District of Waukesha and the elected officials. The next step will be to plan an event in January where we will welcome these individuals back into our district. Second is the review of draft goals for the committee. As the Government Relations Committee continues to take shape, 3 suggested goal areas were discussed by the committee to further shape the ongoing work of the committee. Goal number 1, continue to work to build strong relationships with local and elected officials. 2, invite legislators and elected officials into our schools and district on a regular basis. And 3, monitor state and federal legislation and the legislative ideas with an eye on advocating for the School District of Waukesha and the state of Wisconsin. Next, we talked about the WASB Fall Regional Meeting, which is Wisconsin Associations of School Boards. The WASB Fall Regional Meeting for our local Region 11 will be held on Tuesday, October 19th at the Ingleside Hotel in Pewaukee. There will be enhanced COVID protocols in place for attendance. Ms. Roddy and Dr. Siebert will be attending to represent us. And last, we have a recognition of Amanda Roddy for achieving Level 2 in the WASB Member Recognition Program. Ms. Roddy has achieved Level 2 in this program, and she is being recognized for her effort in the leadership and board development through the Member Recognition Program. Points are awarded based on attendance at or involvement in various WASB and NASBA programs and events, and I believe that's National School Boards Association. Ms. Roddy will be recognized with this award at the Region 11 meeting Tuesday, October 19th at the Ingleside Hotel. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes our Government Relations Committee report. Our next meeting date is to be determined. It's usually every 3 months, but due to this gathering in January, will we just have an update after that, maybe?
You and I can certainly discuss. Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
All right.
And these are discussion items. Are there any comments or questions that you might have of Ms. Reincheck? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the Human Resource and Compensation Committee, given by Ms. Roddy.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Human Resource and Compensation Committee met earlier today. There were no action items this evening. Our discussion item was regarding the school calendar. Each year at this time, we develop a school calendar draft for review. The board is asked to review this draft and offer its feedback. As in years past, we obtain teacher feedback at the Superintendent's Advisory Committee for Professional Staff, and we also obtain parents' feedback at the monthly Superintendent's Advisory Committee for PTO leaders in October. The HR and the Compensation Committee and the Board of Education will review possible approval of at November's meeting. The draft school calendar for 2022 and 2023 was provided in your packet. Mr. President, that concludes.
Okay, thank you. And this also is a discussion item in case anyone would like to ask questions or comments on the calendar. Okay, thank you. Moving on to our policy committee given by Mr. Baumgart.
Policy Committee, the policy that we had on the consent agenda was 1630.01. It was approved, and you have copies of that. On this current report, the Policy Committee, we have what's called a technical correction updates, and we have received sitting down with Neola, we've gone through many policies that have simple adjustments which are allowed to be made just by us. Sometimes it's a correction in grammar, sometimes it's a elimination of the word Board of Education to strictly board. So we went through those. You have samples of those in the packet Friday. There's no action required on this at all. Unless somebody has some questions on it, but I don't think so. Rarely is there questions on it. It went through the committee last month quickly. Policy Committee meeting is scheduled for next week, Tuesday, October 19th. I will warn everybody that it'll be the last time for a little while. It'll be real short and sweet because we received with Neola 14 policies that we'll be working on. Two of them are quite simply deleted and moved into another place, so those aren't too difficult. And the other, there's about 10 in there that are going to require some review. Nothing is heavy from what I've reviewed on it, but we will be going through them starting with the next meeting. Most of them will be handled in one meeting, and the rest of them there's 3 or 4 that have to go back to the board.
To the full board? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a discussion item in terms of the technical corrections here, if there are any questions. Are there any questions on the technical corrections? Usually they're not, but
no, there's. I mean,
it is agendized for potential
yes,
discussion,
but,
so doesn't surprise me.
I mean, you got things like adding in the statutes for the correct number of the statutes,
right.
Or just trying to find another one. Yeah, that's another statute change.
Cross-references, those kinds of things.
There are a couple cross-references. Elimination of the word "of education" from the Board of Education. You really don't want to go through all the rest.
No. I was just asking if our fellow board members had because we all had them in our packet, and I didn't know if someone had a question on
They're
one
all,
of them.
you can access them, yes.
Yep.
And you'll see the changes, so. And with that, committee's report, policy committee is complete.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baumgart. Moving on to the Finance and Facility Committee, given by Mr. McCaffrey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 action items and 5 information discussion items on the agenda this evening. My first action item is the approval of the Stormwater Maintenance Agreement. The committee discussed the Stormwater Maintenance Agreement between the City of Waukesha and the school district. This is related to the recent site work done at Butler Middle School. Last month, the committee asked the administration to research what the district's exposure would be if the stormwater plan does not meet the needs of the Butler campus. Legal counsel reviewed the agreement and opined that the district would be immune to a liability claim, but regardless of immunity, we would also have a defense as we reasonably relied on an expert's opinion to ensure compliance with the ordinance. The committee approved the stormwater maintenance agreement with the City of Waukesha, and I so move.
Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Dietz. Discussion? Comments? Questions? Okay, Stacy, please take the roll call vote.
Amanda Reddy. Aye. Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
Corey Montijo.
Abstain.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek. Greg Dietz.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye. Passes 801. Stacy? Patrick?
Excellent. My second action item is the approval of remaining referendum projects. Our scheduled referendum projects for the summer of 2021 are substantially complete, leaving an estimated remaining referendum proceeds balance of $314,000. We are asking for approval to proceed with air duct, coil cleaning, and outside air balancing of our HVA systems at 20 school sites. Horning, Randall, and Les Paul middle schools have already had this work completed as part of their recent renovations. A request for proposal was completed for this project scope and resulted in an anticipated cost of $263,321. The duct and coil cleaning and outside air balancing would allow the district to proceed with the transition to MERV 13 filtration. Last month, we discussed using ESSER funds for this work, but using referendum funds is a more cost-effective and timely approach. The other recommended scope for any remaining funds would address district-wide parking lot maintenance, repairs, and/or replacement. The committee approved the remaining referendum projects as presented, and I so move.
Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Baumgart. Discussion? Questions?
Can I clarify one thing? I
Yes, Mr.
apologize. It's the 3 middle schools, Horning, Butler, and Les Paul. I have no idea why I typed Randall in there, but just thought I'd clarify that.
Yeah.
That work was all done as part of the renovations at those sites, so I apologize.
Other questions or comments? Okay, Stacy, please take the roll call vote.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Amanda Reddy. Aye. Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Corey Montijo.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye. Passes 9-0. Stacy? Patrick?
My first discussion information item is annual school health and nursing report. The 2020-2021 Health and Nursing Services Report summarized frequency of health room visits by school. Visits fluctuate from year to year, and students visit our health rooms for reasons ranging from minor bumps and bruises to chronic illnesses such as asthma, diabetes, allergies, etc. The annual report also summarized training requirements of district nurses and health room clerical staff. The full report is in board docs for your review.
Is there any questions or discussion on this report? Patrick?
All right, my second information discussion item is Employee Health Clinic. Representatives from ProHealth and HNI were in attendance to discuss the transition to the new Employee Health Clinic, which starts January 1st, 2022. ProHealth will be providing 40 hours of clinical services between 2 locations with both in-person and virtual options. ProHealth is increasing our patient access and utilizing more technology, while both lowering our costs and offering a high level of service efficiency. Clinic communications regarding hours, locations, and providers will begin in late November.
Any discussion or questions on the health clinic? Moving to the new one.
Good move.
Yep.
Patrick?
Excellent, thank you. My third information discussion item is district fundraising. The high school athletic directors were in attendance to discuss district-level fundraising. The goal of this agenda item was to make the committee and the board aware of these discussions. The committee asked that a more detailed plan be developed and brought back to a future meeting for further considerations.
Questions, comments? This? Okay, Patrick?
My fourth information discussion
Rolling
item.
right along.
I know. It's great. Monthly budget report. Revenues and expenditures are within budgeted limits for both the general and special education fund. The district is operating in accordance with our approved budget and all other funds as well.
Any discussion, questions on this? Okay, Patrick?
All right. And my final information discussion item is the 2021-2022 budget development update. The committee was updated on the current estimates for the 2021-2022 budget and tax levy. On October 15th, DPI will certify the district's equalization aid and voucher program participation levels, which will enable the business office to calculate the final tax levy and rate. At this time, a drop in tax rate from last year's $8.03 is expected. The committee recommended continuing our current rate of defeasance of the district's outstanding debt. This would be our third year of defeasing and will allow the district to stay on pace to pay off the entire 2018 referendum debt in just 6 years. Final approval of the 2021-2022 budget levy is scheduled at a special board meeting on October 26th at 6 p.m.
Any questions or comments on this? I just would like to, and this comment was brought up at our Finance and Facilities Committee. Referendums typically take about 20 years to pay off. That's what is more common in school districts throughout Wisconsin. And this board, we promised to have the referendum paid off in 10 years. And it looks like we are ahead of schedule, as Mr. McCaffrey had said, to hit 6 years. And there's some real cost savings that does get passed along to our constituents on this. So we're, I think, very thankful to be in this position to be able to do this for our constituents. Mr. McCaffrey?
Excellent, thank you. The next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting is on November 8th at 5:30 in the boardroom. And Mr. President, this concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCaffrey.
Thank you.
Moving on, that wraps up all of our committee reports. Moving on to other business, recommendations for future board or committee action items. Ms. Roddy, as I was referring before, if we could add the building substitutes to our list for HR, that would be wonderful. Any other suggestions for committees or full board meeting? Ms. Roddy?
I just neglected to state our next meeting for HR and Comp. That'll be November 10th, prior to the full board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other suggestions? Mr. Dietz?
I am going to be asking that the board receive a report from Dr. Siebert regarding our signage issue for our November full board meeting, and that this be agendized for discussion. Specifically, I would like to know whose input was used to make this decision, why this decision was made, what criteria are used to determine if a sign will be banned or not, how is it going so far, and what has been your feedback, and finally, any next steps that you are forecasting and or considering at this time.
Mr. Dietz, other suggestions from any other board member? All right, we do have a need to go into executive session. Item C, I'd be looking for a motion on that. Mr. Mungard?
Okay, it's a long one, huh? I move we adjourn to executive session per Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and G, to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral and written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. And do I have to include?
Yes, we need to include A.
Yeah. The board shall, excuse me, convene to discuss pending litigation related to COVID mitigation measures and to discuss potential legal and other action related to a possible defamation action.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Montijo. Stacy, will you take the roll call on that?
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
Corey Montijo.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek. Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 9-0. There may be a chance, it depends on what we decide in closed session. There may be a chance to reconvene into open session, but we just don't know that as of now. Boy, it's always hard to predict how long our closed sessions will go. I'm going to say maybe an hour tonight. So if you'd like to wait to see if we reconvene, but we don't know if we will reconvene into open session. But it does, that's a choice that you get to make. So why don't we take 5 minutes and have a quick break?
Who was the second on that?
Mr. Montijo.
Corey?
Yes. And then we'll start our closed session in 5 minutes.